Okay, let's talk about the white rhino. What if I told you that for all our efforts to save them, we've been missing something huge? We're about to dive into their hidden world, a world they don't see but sense. So here's this big puzzle. We have these incredible, powerful animals in zoos and conservation centers, right? But for some reason, they often struggle to breed. It's a huge problem. And it turns out the answer isn't what you'd think. It's because we've been totally blind to how they actually experience the world around them. It all comes down to how they perceive reality. You and I, we see the world, we look at a landscape. But for a rhino, not so much. They're pretty nearsighted. For them, the physical landscape is, well, it's just not the main event. Their entire world is built on two things we often take for granted: sound and smell.
Okay, so let's try and solve this rhino riddle. We're going to play detective and follow the clues. And researchers have found two really big ones that are going to take us right into their hidden sensory world. All right, clue number one. It's all about sound. I mean, just imagine for a second, if you couldn't really rely on your eyes, what you hear would become your entire reality, right? Yeah, there's actually a word for this. Scientists call it the soundscape. And it's basically every single sound in an environment. For a rhino, this isn't just background noise. No way. The soundscape is this constant flowing river of information, and it's absolutely vital for their survival. And this is where the problem really hits home. In a natural soundscape, you've got all this useful, rich information, sounds from other animals, the wind, you name it. But in an urban environment, like near a zoo, it's just noise. Man-made noise that bounces off concrete and buildings, creating this total chaos of distorted sound.
So for a rhino, all that urban noise is like living in a thick, dense fog, but it's a fog of sound. Imagine trying to find your way around while wearing a blindfold and with loud static blasting in your ears. That's kind of what it's like for an animal that needs to hear, to navigate, to talk to others, and just to feel safe.
And get this part is just wild. The kinds of sounds that are the most stressful for rhinos, they are the exact same ones the World Health Organization has identified as being physically harmful to humans. We're talking chronic, low-frequency noise. This isn't just annoying for them. It causes real physiological stress. And we can actually see them trying to cope. Researchers have watched rhinos in zoos actively seek out these little pockets of quiet. They call them sound shadows. They'll find a spot behind a wall or a boulder and just hide there. They're literally trying to escape the constant pressure of all that noise. But believe it or not, sound is only half the story. The other half? It might be even more important. And our second big clue? Well, it revolves around something you probably weren't expecting. We're talking about dung. Yeah, I know, but stick with me. You've probably seen pictures of those big piles of rhino dung, right? We just look at it and think, okay, that's their bathroom. But what if it's not just a toilet? What if it's more like a message board or a community bulletin? The scientific term is midden, and what researchers have figured out is that these middens are basically the rhino equivalent of a daily newspaper. Or maybe a better way to think about it is like their social media feed. Every rhino that comes by leaves a post and checks out everyone else's updates. So what's in this daily dung newspaper? How do you even read it? Let's break it down, because this is where we get a peek into the super complex social lives of these animals we always thought were just solitary giants. It's all in the smell. A single sniff tells a rhino so much. We're talking who's in the neighborhood, their sex, their age, their social status. A male can tell if a female is ready to mate. A female can tell if a male is a good potential partner. It's like a complete chemical resume for every rhino around. And it gets even cooler. It's not just what's in the message, it's where the message is posted. There are strict rules. The big boss, the dominant male, he puts his deposit right in the center. Bam, prime real estate. Other males, females, challengers, they all use the edges. It's literally a physical map of the entire social ladder. Okay, but here's the part that really blew my mind. You'd think the dominant male would leave the biggest pile, right? To show off? Nope. It's the opposite. He actually leaves smaller piles. Why? So he can save some for later and mark more middens across his entire territory. It's pure strategy. He's maximizing his advertising budget, making sure his billboards are everywhere. So what you have is this incredibly rich, complex social network all running on smell. Every visit to the midden is like logging on. You post your own status update, and then you scroll through the feed to see what everyone else is up to.
checking on the boss, looking for dates, scoping out the competition, the whole shebang. Okay, let's bring this all back to the beginning. We have these two huge clues, the world of sound and the world of smell. So how does this solve our original mystery? Why are these magnificent animals struggling so much in our care?
And here it is, the heart of the matter. For years, we've been building their homes based on what we think is important, based on what things look like. We've been designing for our eyes, completely ignoring the two senses that matter most to a rhino. They don't just need a big field to roam in. To truly thrive, they need quiet, and they need the ability to have these complex chemical conversations.
This whole thing points to a much, much bigger idea. This isn't just about rhinos, it's about all captive animals, and really any wildlife whose home is being encroached on by us. If we really want to help them, we can't just look at their world. We have to try to understand the unique sensory reality that they actually live inside.
And that leaves us with this one big, final question, doesn't it? For the future of conservation. To save a species, is it enough to just protect their habitat? Or do we first have to learn to sense the world the way they do? Maybe, just maybe, the greatest scientific tool we have at our disposal is empathy.